the 2009 result, and the 2010 estimate is 21%. But after the evaluation that just occurred a few weeks ago, the government is calculating that that might be increasing 5 or 6%. What else? Our international reserves are around $34 billion. That's the most recent figure from our central bank. The literacy rate we were declared in 2004 illiteracy-free territory by UNESCO. The languages, of course, is Spanish. We have a lot of indigenous people, indigenous languages. We have ranked 61st in the Human Development Index, and we are happy of that. And our percentage of the GDP dedicated of the payment of the debt, international debt, is 11%, and we are very proud of that too. These are some achievements that we are proud of: the reduction in 50% of the public debt, the increase as 2008 of the agro production. I have to recognize that in 2009 there was a decrease in the agro production. It was affected by all the global crisis and the financial crisis. We have the highest minimum wage in Latin America, and even though with the devaluation, I believe that that we are going to be, this is the figure for 2009, but after the devaluation, the government decreed an increase of 25% in the minimum wage. So that means that the devaluation, the increase was bigger than the devaluation. So I believe that this figure that I have there is going to be bigger, a little bit bigger for this year. The unemployment reduction, we're very proud of that. In 1999 we have a 15% of unemployment. Right now we have 6.6%. We have the increase of number of pensions. That's a very important achievement from my perspective. We had like in 1999 like 200,000 people receiving pensions. Right now we have more than 1.5 million people receiving pensions, and that's a big achievement. People in Venezuela are receiving pensions, and those pensions are not affected by the inflation. They are adjusted year by year. So that's an important achievement. So we have a 30% reduction in infant mortality. The 4.2% that we dedicate to health from our GDP is an important percentage, not usual in Latin America at least. And the 7% that we dedicate from our GDP to education is also something important that you don't see too much around. But for us it's important to mention, because you only see in the media how much we spend in weapons and things like that. So the reduction of the gap between rich and poor was for 2008 13%. Right now 92% of the population have access to water. Right now, before there was a big gap between, especially in rural areas, people didn't have the chance of having water. And this is also a very important figure. 10 years ago, 25 of 1,000 were, how are you? Nice to see you. Were university students. And right now, as 2008, 75 of 1,000 students, we tripled the number. And that's important. That says a lot of what the government is doing. Can you go to the next slide? In education. Right now, this is what I'm planning to talk about, the recent developments in Venezuela. The first thing that I want to mention is the importance of the February the 4th and the February 27th as historical events that we celebrate in Venezuela. if you ask people from the opposition in Venezuela, they always criticize that we celebrate these historical events because they say, we as the government celebrate these events because they say that February the 4th was just a coup d'etat by a bunch of militaries led by Hugo Chavez, and that then a lot of people die and they are all criminals and things like that. That's what you hear from the opposition in Venezuela. And, but the reality is that February the 4th is very related to February 27th, because in February 27th, 1989, happens what we call the Caracazo, which was a big demonstration in Venezuela of spontaneous Venezuelans in Caracas that went to the street, and in other important cities in the country that went to the street after a economic package that was applied by the neoliberal government that we had at that time. Because of the measures that government took, the people went to the street and the government ordered to kill everybody without asking. And as a result of that, there was a lot of discontent in the army, because there was a movement of social military that was against what happened in February 27, 1989, and they decide in 1992 to go try to get rid of the government that gave them the order to kill people a few years before February the 4th. That's the relation of the two historical events. Of course, February 27th was in '89, and February the 4th happened in 1992. There was like 4 years of difference, but the reality is that everything happens during a presidential term that was the presidential term of Carlos Andrés Pérez in Venezuela. So the government, the current Venezuelan government, recognized those dates as very important, because after that things start to change in Venezuela politically. So that's why we somehow have been raising the international awareness about this historical event. After saying that, I want to talk a little bit, as I told you, about the recent events in Venezuela, and I want to contextualize them. And I have to tell you first that all what is happening in Venezuela somehow is related to the reality that we have elections next September in Venezuela. And that also we're going to have presidential election in 2012. So those things are not disconnected. Those things are part of the context in which you should analyze what is happening right now in Venezuela. Also, we have to take into consideration how has been changing the political balance in the hemisphere. And somehow what happened in Honduras recently, and what happened in Panama recently, and what happened in Chile recently, somehow give expectations to the right wings that they are going to retake those spaces that they lost in the hemisphere. So, from my perspective, we have to take that into consideration to analyze what's happening right now also in Venezuela. And also we have to say that usually when we receive so much aggression in Venezuela, and we are used to that because this happens every time when we are in front of an election in Venezuela, the opposition in Venezuela, allied with the international movements, right-wing movements, they show very clearly their intentions about what they want to do with Hugo Chavez. And what I wanted to raise here is usually when that happens, what happened around the forces that support Chavez is that those forces amalgamate around watch hours.